welcome to Immediate Immersion Live. Are you struggling to confidently implement comprehension-based instruction in your classroom? Today, I'm revealing the top tips and strategies that will not only boost your teaching skills, but also transform your students' engagement and learning experience. Don't miss out on these game-changing insights. My name is Scott, and you're watching Immediate Immersion Live, where we're all about comprehension-based instruction in the modern language classroom. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. So today we're talking confidence and how you can build up your confidence as a comprehensible input teacher. And I'm going to tell you, I just started school last week. So kids will have been back to school tomorrow will be a full week. So they were there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Monday, Tuesday. So they've been there 5 days so far. And I will tell you, there's nothing that builds confidence with comprehensible input than seeing it in action with your students. So my level 2 students were at a textbook last year, and my level 1 students have had no Spanish previously. But what I did was introduce myself all in Spanish, and that was very, I did it all in Spanish, and I put my translations on the board as I went along. And on the first day, I was getting a lot of 2s and 3s for comprehension, which is to be expected in a level 1 class. They're nervous. I didn't have as much time because it was a minimum day because it was a PLC day. So I didn't have as much time as I normally would with the kids. And everything was brand new and we had some other things to do. So I didn't get to spend a heck of a lot of time working at making it comprehensible. But then on Thursday, we reviewed that information and extended it. So I'm still working with my information. I reviewed it all. And then we played the pencil game. So where they've got to grab a pencil if the answer is false when I ask true and false questions. I answered them all asked them all in Spanish. And guess what? They were doing really awesomely on there and they were improved on there. And then when I asked them about their comprehensions, I got a lot of 4s and 3s. So we were moving up. Then on Friday, I reviewed again, but this time in written form. We did a written version of the same information that I did. The kids probably thought I was so conceited talking about myself for 3 days. But I wanted them to get to know who I was before I started talking about them, which is what we did this week. And at the end of Friday, I got a lot of 4s and 5s. So that's the magic of that. And there's nothing that builds confidence than seeing that actually happen live in your classroom. And then when I had my students reflect on that first week, I got a lot of great comments about what we were doing in class and that it was a little bit confusing on the first day, but by the third day, they were really getting a hang of it and understanding what was going on. So that's what builds confidence. So today we're going to be talking about different things that you can do to help you gain confidence in applying comprehension-based techniques. So the first strategy is to start small and build gradually. Now, there are some of you who are the people who dive headfirst into anything. That's me when it came to comprehensible input. I learned about it in my first year of teaching. I learned about it at the end of my first semester of teaching. My first semester I taught with a textbook, but then second semester I went 100% full-on TPRS, which was an early form of a comprehensible input strategy. I went full-on with that, and I haven't looked back since. Now, I've adapted and I've changed some of the things I've done. I use a lot of TPRS strategies, but I use other comprehensible input strategies as well, bringing it all together for a comprehensive type curriculum. And I dove head first. But most of you are not that type of a person. Most of you aren't going to be able to dive head first in. Most of you are going to be toe dippers. You're going to want to go start small and start simply. So begin with simple activities. Start with something and replace something else you do in your classroom, and do that regularly. When you get comfortable with one activity, one strategy, then replace another strategy with something comprehensible input. For example, you could implement a daily picture talk where you describe an image in the target language and ask simple questions about that. So replace a strategy or an activity that you are currently doing that is less comprehensible input based, and replace it with this. And then when you get good at that particular activity, then you can add a different one. Another strategy for starting small is just to integrate comprehensible input into your existing lessons. So look at your current lessons that you have right now and see where you can put some CI activities in there. Maybe a story listening or some TPR within your current curriculum. So you're not changing everything, and you're not replacing necessarily a strategy or an activity, but you're kind of inserting a CI activity into what you're already doing. So you have that comfort level with what you normally have been doing, but then you are now going on and you can dip your toes into that next strategy, that CI strategy, so that you can gain some confidence in that. And then the third idea for starting small is to set achievable goals. So aim to introduce one new CI technique each week or every 2 weeks, or whatever you feel comfortable with, gradually increasing your repertoire without feeling overwhelmed. So do that regularly. And as you do that, you're going to go from non-CI to CI over a period of time as you gain confidence. And you're starting small, so you don't have that big fear of failure, because you have the rest of your curriculum, the rest of your activities, the rest of your strategies to fall back on. Now, how many of you have already tried going CI and either are full-time CIs or still experimenting? How many of you went slowly? Let me know if you were a toe dipper and put in hashtag toe dipper, or if you were a dive right in and put in hashtag diver to let me know which one you are. I was the diver, so I'm going to go ahead and put that into mine. Hashtag diver. I dove right in full-fledged. The next strategy, oops, and I always click the wrong button. You'd think after doing this for so long, I would not be clicking the wrong button all the time. There we go. We want to practice and we want to reflect on our practices. So start by rehearsing your CI activities. So practice delivering CI lessons in front of a mirror or with a colleague to build familiarity and comfort. Now, I don't like to do it in front of a mirror. That is kind of weird and awkward to me. It reminds me of, teenagers doing the selfies in front of the mirror. I don't like that. But I don't mind doing it like in our PLCs, where we can practice things out with our colleagues. Our colleagues can play students, and then we can practice, delivering that strategy with them. And then we can rotate, so our PLC partners, our other coworkers, can try their strategies as well, and then try it out on us. And you can do that to gain that familiarity and that comfort, so you build that muscle memory into what you're doing, which can be really, really helpful in that, because when you feel comfortable doing it in front of your peers, then doing it in front of students is so much easier. I get more nervous in front of my peers than I ever would in front of students. So that helps build that muscle memory and that confidence that comes along with that. Another thing, and I did this for many, many years, is record my classes. So I like to record my classes. And what I would do is I had a camera set up in the back of the room. It wasn't always on, but I always had it back there, because what happens when I would bring it out for something special because I wanted to record something we were doing that day, my kids would all act differently and all nervous and or play up to the camera or do things, and it wasn't natural. So having that camera there every single day, whether it would be on or not, the kids got used to it being there, and then they would just act naturally. But I did that. I recorded from the back of the room, so I mostly got backs of heads. But I did put out a permission slip to parents. So I told them that I'd be recording my classes and that I would be putting them on YouTube for other teachers or sharing them with other teachers for learning purposes, for educational purposes. And I would get their actual permission to do that, so I wouldn't have to worry about blurring out their faces. Now, if I didn't have that, then I would have to make sure I blurred out their faces, but their faces aren't enough. You also have to blur out any noises or communication that they make. Anytime they talk, you have to blur them out. You have to disguise that so it can't be distinguished from, as them. So it was really hard. It was much easier to get permission slips. So that's what I did. But record them kind of like, coaches record games so that they can go back and analyze what worked well and what didn't work well. So that really helps. And then you can focus on, areas of improvement. What could you improve on? What about your delivery? And you can look at student engagement. How did they react to how you delivered this piece? How did they react to this particular activity? You can look at that and make tweaks to see what you can do to make it better for next time. And we've talked a lot about this on this channel, how reflection is so very important. I have my students do it. I do it myself as a teacher. You want to be reflective in what you do and on your practices so that you can identify, what you're thinking, what questions you might have deepen your thinking about what you're doing. So keep a teaching journal where you note what worked well and what didn't work well, using these reflections to refine your approach. So I can look at it and say, this particular lesson went really well. Like today, I'll tell you, as I said, today was the 5th day. It's my first period, level 1. I'm working at a big high school. It's about 2,500 students, but I'm on a separate campus. I'm on the Career and Technology Education campus. So these kids are enrolled in one of the 3 career tech academies that we have on that campus: agriculture, construction, or culinary. Because of that, the number of students who take those programs is much smaller. So my classes are really small. I'm not used to having this small of classes. My first period, I just lost another student because he was a native speaker and obviously wasn't appropriate for him to be in level 1. So I have 7 kids in that class. So it's kind of it's hard to get them all excited in the morning. It's first thing in the morning. They're high school kids, and I'm all amped up trying to get them going. Well, today was a home run. We were talking about, activities, and I was talking to one of my students, and his activity that he put down was Minecraft. So I'm asking him about his Minecraft. You play video games. What's your favorite video game? Do you play video games alone, or do you play video games with your friends? And then I knew his friend was sitting right next to him. And so I asked, do you play video games with him? And he said yes, but the other kids said no. So then I brought up the word mentiroso, which is a liar. And I said, I had the class vote. Who do you think's the liar? Do you think it's this kid or that kid? And it was funny how they voted. They voted the original kid, the kid who liked to play video games, was being the liar. So then I said, I asked him, are your friends imaginary or are they real? And he says, oh, no, they're real. And then the other kid, who was his friend, said, oh, no, they're not real. They're all imaginary. And then the first kid said about the other kid, he goes, oh, no, he's got three. Oh no, he's got two doll. No, sorry. He said, he's got a doll. And I'm like, he's got a doll? I go, it's a secret. He has a Barbie doll. And then the first guy said, oh, no, 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 no. He's got two Barbie dolls. So we went with that for a little bit. And I said, oh, that's a secret. He has two Barbie dolls. And then the other guy retorted back and said, but he's got three of them. So I'm like, oh, he's got three Barbie dolls. And we kept going back and forth with this. And then I added on my own idea. I said, and not only does he have three Barbie dolls, he's got a stuffed Barney, the purple dinosaur. So we were going back and forth. We were having so much fun. That's a home run. So then when I write my reflection at the end of the week about my lessons, I can talk about what went well with that and why that made connections with students. But you also want to note when things fall flat, when things don't go over so well. You want to note that so that you can make changes so that doesn't happen again if possible. So comment and reflect upon what went well, what didn't go well, what would you tweak for next time, what worked really, really well, what ideas, like in the middle of the class, did you come up with some ideas that you might want to implement next time you do this lesson? All of those types of things will really help you think about your lessons, think about your delivery, think about your strategies, which will then build confidence when you see the levels of success that you're having. Next, let's talk about embracing feedback. Feedback is so important. Back when we started teaching, 20 some years ago, teaching was more of a solitary sport. We came to school, we went into our classroom, we shut our door, we did what we were going to do, and then we went home. And I remember the first school that I worked at, we didn't have PLCs. They didn't exist back then. Or maybe they existed, but not at my school, they didn't exist. And then we didn't really work together in any way, shape, or form. We didn't plan together. We didn't come up with ideas. We didn't share ideas. It just was really, all for one. I mean, it was just, you're on your own. So everybody was for themselves. But nowadays, we realize that teaching is a team sport. We need to work together so that we can strategize what worked better, what doesn't work. Any ideas, like if you're having difficulties with behavior or teaching a specific concept, you can brainstorm with your colleagues. All of those are really great ideas. So you get that by participating in a PLC, some type of a learning community with your peers. So seek that feedback and support. One of the things we did successfully at my previous school were peer observations. So we agreed as a team, it did not come from administration, we did it on our own. And we said that we were going to observe another teacher at least twice per month. That's what we agreed on. We had to stay at least 15 minutes, but most of us gave up a whole prep period to observe. And we only said positive things. We had a little checkoff sheet that we did. How much target language was being used? What did the teacher do to make the students understand? And what did the teacher do to make the students feel comfortable? And then any other comments you want to put in there. But they all had to be positive. We filled out the form. We gave it to the teacher. And the teacher could choose to do with it as they pleased. But it was a really great way because I saw how different teachers did the same activity that I did, but they did it a little bit differently. They had a different spin on it. For example, weekend talk. My friend Barbara, she would do it by asking kids to share pictures from their weekend over the weekend so that when she came in on Monday, she could pick a few to talk about and she'd put the picture up. So it made weekend talk a little bit more interesting. I had never thought of doing that, so that was a really good idea. But by doing these things, you can get some ideas, and then when they come and visit you, you can get some constructive feedback on how you taught as well. So you can see what worked well. So let's say if we're doing, you're trying to target 90% target language, and the teacher comes and observes, and they only wrote that you did like 85. Well, that's an area that you know you can work on and improve. It depends on the activity, obviously, how much target language you can use, but this is a really good way to get that feedback that you need to improve. And when you observe others, you kind of get indirect feedback. You're like, oh, I do that activity too. Oh, but they do it so much better here because of they do this or that or that. So a lot of that really, really helps. But peers are not the only time to get, or the only people you can get feedback from. What about your main clientele? Your main clientele are your students. So why not seek student feedback? So ask students for feedback on comprehensible activities through anonymous surveys, reflections, informal discussions to understand their experiences and preferences. I told you we do class reflections every week, and I ask a lot about what activities the students find helpful, which ones they're not finding helpful, and explain why. But you can also do surveys and informal discussions to find out what is working for your students and what may not be working for your students. Now, just because they say it's not working for them doesn't mean you're going to throw it out. You kind of figure out what they're talking about. Sometimes they don't want to do something because they don't like it, but they're not realizing the benefits of it, at least not yet. So you could have that discussion with them. So student feedback is also important. And then if you don't have a local PLC, there are so many other ways that you can get PLCs going. There are lots of CI communities out there. There's a lot of them on Facebook. There's the overall one, the TPRS, the NTPRS IFLT group that is, a hodgepodge of people from all different languages. But there's a French-specific one, and there's a German-specific one, and I'm sure there are other languages, too, that are specific. Hold on a moment. My dog is driving me crazy. Faust, go away. Faust. Go. Just one moment. Let me let my dog out. I'll be right back. I'm sorry about that. Faust, go. Can you help me with the dog? I'm live. He's barking, and I'm trying to do live. Go. Faust, go outside. Sorry about that. When you're going live, you never know what's going to happen. So, you can join these online communities, or you can get a group of area teachers. There is an in-person Ohio PLC that I know of. There's also one in the tri-state area of, Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. So see if there's one of those that is there. And if not, why not start one and get teachers from different schools to come together? And if not, you can't do that, do an online one. If you don't want to do one of the Facebook groups, make your own little group that you can do online and work through that. Or participate in local workshops or online workshops. Collaborate with other teachers. Look for insights and support. If you go to a workshop or a conference, network with people who either are in your area and or are teaching the same language that you can work with a network when you go back home after the conference is over. All of those are some great strategies to help you build that confidence. Number 4, professional development. So you want to attend CI workshops, conferences, whatever you can do. So enroll in these workshops or conferences that are focused on comprehensible input to learn new strategies and gain inspiration from experienced practitioners. So this is really, really helpful. And nowadays, especially with computers, it doesn't have to be so costly. You don't have to travel. There are online conferences. There's online training. You can bring an online trainer virtually to your school to do a workshop. Then there are in-person workshops. Some there are local to you, some you may have to travel to. Conferences usually happen in the summer, And there are a few of them. There's the Agen workshop in Agen, France, which is outside of Toulouse, down in the, I think that's the southwest portion of France. There is the NTPRS conference, which moves around every year. There is the Fluency Matters conference. That moves around every year as well. And then a new one that popped up is the CI Summit. Again, that moves around every year. So all of these are different conferences during the summer that you can participate in and get some new ideas, get some fresh ideas, network with other teachers. That really, really helps. Online courses. Take those online courses specifically designed for comprehensible input techniques, such as those offered by TPRS Books or other CI experts. We at Immediate Immersion, we offer a lot of them. But I'm not the only one, and TPRS Books is not the only one either. Look for some other sources of some online teaching as well. You can find lots of different sources for that. And then lastly, you can read comprehensible input literature. We have a free book club. I'm looking for my book here so I can show you. This is the book we read last time. The Fastest Way to Fluency, TPRS 2.0. We read this for our first book in our book club. But now we're currently reading Common Ground. I don't have a physical book of it. It's a digital book that I'm reading it on. And so that's another one that you can participate in, that you could read books like that, or participate in our book club or other book clubs, or create your own book club, or just read on your own. There's so many good books out there about comprehensible input, the theory behind it, why it works, strategies, all different kinds of things. This is how I learned when I first started, because I didn't take my first workshop until the summer after my first year of teaching, after I did it all by myself for a whole semester. So read books, read blog posts, read articles. Stephen Krashen, Bill Van Patten, Vaughn and Blaine Ray, just to mention some of them that you can find. Look for those practical tips that you can apply in your classroom. And you could start with the theory, see, so you can understand why comprehensible input works the way that it does. And then go into some practicum where strategies and stuff that you can actually use. There's lots of different things out there and lots of different experiences that you can apply and read. I got lots of great examples in this book, and I'm getting lots of great examples from the book Common Ground as well. So all of those things are great ways. Remember, find your PLCs, find your peeps. Go and find workshops and conferences, whether they be in person or online, and do your own reading, whether it be articles, blogs, or books, to try to, deepen your thoughts and strategies on this. And finally, we want to embrace a growth mindset. So we tell our students all the time we want them to be lifelong learners. And if that's absolutely true, then we need to model that. And that means we are not where we want to be a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. We're not there yet, because we want to have a growth mindset. We want to celebrate those small wins. So we want to acknowledge and celebrate when we ever have small successes, like student engagement during a comprehensible input activity, or a successful lesson like I had today in my first period, to build that positive momentum. Write it down. Put it on the calendar. Today was a great day because these two students really had fun in class and were really bringing the class alive today. Celebrate those moments. Celebrate them with your peers. We shared those kinds of things at lunch all the time with each other. We don't spend time during lunch as teachers talking about kids in a bad way. We don't talk about how we don't like our jobs, or this is a problem in our jobs. We're trying to stay positive in the lunchroom, and that helps a lot. So celebrate all of those little moments. That's part of being a growth mindset. You start small and you work bigger. And mistakes are just an opportunity to learn. So don't think you have to be perfect in everything that you do. It's okay to make mistakes. Where the problem arises is when you don't learn from those mistakes, when you don't try to analyze them, see what went wrong, and see how you can do differently the next time. So reflect on any challenges or mistakes as opportunities to learn and grow rather than as failures. So I'm really working on my first period to get them up and moving and excited about class. I've only got 7 kids in there. So that means I've got to amp up my energy 10 times to get those kids to give me any little bit of energy. So I'm going into class and I'm going, Buenos dias, clase, to get them all going. And I don't accept a Buenos dias. I'm like, that is not what we're going to do today. We are going to come back with the same kind of energy that I'm giving you. Buenos dias, clase. And then they're going to give it back to me. And I won't move on until they do. I'm training on them because I'm reflecting on the challenges that I have in that particular class. I need them to get them going because I can't deal with an hour and a half of lumps on a log. I need to keep them going. They need to give me energy like I give them energy. And the last strategy is continuous improvement. So regularly update your knowledge and your skills through all that professional development by staying informed about new CI techniques and integrating them into your teaching practice. I am excited to try TPRS 2.0. I had not done it this way before, so when we get to that point, that stage of the game, I'm going to work on that with my students. It's something I learned when I read this book over the summer, and it's something I want to implement in my classroom because I'm having this growth mindset. I'm learning something and I'm putting it to practice. If you take a class, if you take a webinar, you take a workshop, make sure you try to implement at least 1 or 2 things from there. And you need to implement it right away so it actually stays fresh in your brain. Then reflect on it. How'd it go? How do you feel about it? Were you a little wishy-washy? I know with PQA, personalized questions and answers, I skipped that for the first 4 or 5 years of teaching because I just didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And when I finally learned what it was after reading Ben Slavic's book, PQA and a Wink, I read it and I'm like, oh, that's what they're talking about. I get it now. I mean, I understood what it was. It wasn't like I was dumb and I didn't understand what the words meant or what they were doing. I just didn't get that feeling for it. But then when I first did it, I was uncomfortable with it. So I needed to keep practicing and keep doing it. And now it's one of my favorite techniques to use. I call it conversations because that's actually what it really is. And I love doing it with my students. And it works really, really well. So I'm learning. When I learn new things, I'm thinking about them. I'm putting them to practice. And then I'm reflecting on them. You know, I feel a little wishy-washy on this. I need to keep going. I need to encourage myself to practice. So I'm going to leave you with that today. Put in the comments one CI strategy that you have not tried so far that you would like to try in your classes in the next month or so. So let me know what you think about that. Next week, we are going to be talking about, I'm looking at what I have scheduled here. Curriculum. We're going to be talking about your curriculum magic for next time. So next Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And Judy, today was a great day. First story with my new class. They did great. Awesome, Judy. That is awesome. And then she wants to do clip chat and movie talk as her skills. So awesome, awesome, awesome sauce. Something I would like to invite you to, if you guys are interested, we are just finishing up our back to school boot camp, but you can still register for it and watch all the replays. We've got 2 more classes before we end. There's 10 classes in it, but we also have, let me type it out here. We have a 2-for-1 special going on right now. So if you go to mm.us/bootcamp discipline, I'll put it up here on the screen, you can register for $97 and get both our back to school boot camp and our dynamic discipline, which is our classroom management class that starts on September 5th. So if that's something you're interested in, I encourage you to check those out. You can read more about them at that link. And if it's something you're interested in, you can register. They're two of our most popular courses that we offer throughout the year. Back to School Boot Camp tells you about getting your classroom ready, how to make back to school night a success, and your first day, your first week, your first month, and beyond in your classroom, getting all that ready and having those successful moments. And then our dynamic discipline is really going into building relationships and classroom management in a way that doesn't cause friction in your class and sets your class and your students up for success all year long. So if those are things you're interested in, please check those out. We'll be back, as I said, next time talking about comprehensible curriculum. And with that, I wish everybody a great week, and I will talk to you in 7 days. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.